Imagine for a moment that sweet dog that absolutely adores you. She's always happy to see you. She wants to follow you everywhere. She obeys you. She thinks you're the greatest person in the world. She thinks you can do no wrong. She never criticizes you. You can yell at her. You can ignore her. You can abuse her. And she will still come back, still love you, and still want nothing more than to be right next to you. That unconditional love is why humans have pets. But I also just described Natalie Harp's relationship with Donald Trump. Natalie follows Trump everywhere. She's completely devoted and subservient to him. She constantly tells him how great he is. She gives him the positive affirmation and validation that his ego craves. And now we're learning of evidence that proves just how extreme that devotion really is. You may have already heard the story about how Natalie was told there wasn't room for her in Trump's motorcade. She got into a screaming match with his staff and eventually rode in the trunk of an SUV rather than being left behind.
He actually got in the trunk of one of the SUVs that was part of the motorcade.
Her own brother calls her relationship with Trump an unhealthy obsession. And here's a key point. Trump knows exactly how devoted she is, and he exploits it. He reportedly told his staff that eventually all of them would leave him and go make money somewhere else, but not Natalie.
Soon after Trump began his second term, according to the authors of Regime Change, Trump told staffers that Harp was the only one who loved him as much as his wife and kids. All of you will go off and make money, Trump said. She'll never leave me.
I'm going to explain why Natalie Harp is so psychologically attached to Donald Trump and why he's correct when he says that she will never leave him. So why is Natalie so attached to Donald Trump? The first cause of this psychological attachment is that she believes Donald Trump saved her life. Natalie was diagnosed with a rare form of bone cancer, and after receiving an experimental treatment, she publicly credited Trump's right to try law with giving her access to the treatment that she believes saved her life. Listen to how Natalie herself describes it.
I wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for you. They didn't give me the right to try experimental treatments, Mr. President. You did. And without you, I'd have died waiting for them to be approved.
Think about the psychological significance of that. Donald Trump isn't just her boss or her president. In Natalie's mind, this is the man who saved her life. That can create an extraordinary sense of indebtedness. Gratitude can become obligation. Obligation can become devotion. And in Natalie's case, that devotion has become the center of her identity. But there's another deeper issue at play here. Natalie Harp didn't suddenly become fascinated with powerful political figures when she met Donald Trump. We need to have a look at her childhood. Her brother said that they were raised by their mother with a strong belief in American exceptionalism and what Trump stands for. Listen to how her brother explains it.
What do you think drew her to him?
Definitely not her.
Yeah.
Well, my mom raised us with the idea that American exceptionalism was the correct way of looking at things, that the United States is the boss of the world, that, like, you know, slavery was back then, that was normal. People weren't bad because they had slaves. I think that my sister, unfortunately, didn't break out of that delusion that my mom raised us with. And Trump is like everything that my mom taught us to respect. So I think that's where her infatuation for Trump comes from, honestly.
Think about what Trump represents to her. He's the president. He's the embodiment of a political worldview she grew up believing in. She believes he saved her life. And now she spends more time with him than any other person, including Melania. Her entire world is organized around Donald Trump. This is an example of the psychological concept called identity fusion. It's when the boundary between your individual identity and your identification with another person or group becomes extremely blurred. Natalie said it herself in one of her letters to Trump. She wrote, "You are all that matters to me." Trump is her entire world. And that brings us back to what happened when somebody finally told Natalie, no, you can't ride with him. That happened in 2023 when Trump was going to court in New York. Think of how scared she would have been. My mother-in-law recently reached Medicare age and she needed to pick a plan. She asked me, which plan should I pick? Well, I'm not a Medicare expert and I have no idea about all of the options available to her. So I told her to call my partner, Chapter. In less than 20 minutes, Chapter walked her through all of her Medicare options, original Medicare, supplemental plans, Advantage plans, and Part D, so she could find a plan that actually fit her doctors, her prescriptions, and her budget. So I invite you to call 504-613-5925 and speak with a trusted, unbiased Medicare advisor today, like my mother-in-law did. True story. And Trump was going to court in New York. Think of how scared she would have been of this man that she loves going to court where he could be taken away from her. Her passions would have been very high in that moment. There wasn't enough room in the motorcade for Natalie, and when Trump's staff told her she couldn't go, she apparently didn't take it very well.
He was going down to head to the courthouse, and the motorcade was waiting outside of Trump Tower when staffers realized that there weren't enough seats for Natalie Harp. They hadn't accounted that she would be going down to the courthouse, and she was told that. Now, a screaming match then ensued in the lobby of Trump Tower at that time, with essentially Harp saying that the president had personally asked her to go, and she was so determined to not be left behind that she actually got in the trunk of one of the SUVs that was part of the motorcade and sat there. It's almost like a cargo hold.
Think about how extreme that behavior is. She's a grown woman and she gets into a screaming match because she has to ride with the motorcade. She could have taken an Uber. Instead, she was willing to ride in the trunk of an SUV just to stay with him. Her brother thinks it's both funny and sad. Listen.
The end result is that your sister jumped into the trunk of one of the motorcade vehicles to go to the court appearance in Lower Manhattan.
That's really funny. I didn't even know about that.
I mean, what is your reaction to that? I mean, you're laughing, but I mean, is it funny or what? I mean, you know her, so that's why.
I'm sorry. It's actually kind of sad. That's obsession. That's like an unhealthy obsession with someone if you're going to jump into the trunk of their car.
So what could cause somebody to become this psychologically attached to another person? What could Natalie Harp's psychological issues be? Well, she could have strong dependent personality traits, or possibly even dependent personality disorder. There could also be pathological attachment and identity fusion. I certainly think there's some of that. Or there could be trauma or attachment-related dependency associated with her belief that Trump saved her life. It could also be some combination of all of these things. There's an entire video I could make about just the psychology of Natalie Harp, but we're not going to get into all of that today. The important point is that what we're seeing is an extraordinary degree of idealization, dependency, submission, and a need to remain physically close to Donald Trump. So we talked about why Natalie needs Trump, but there's another question. Why does Donald Trump keep Natalie Harp so incredibly close? This is where our original analogy becomes important. What makes the love of a dog so special? It's unconditional. It doesn't care whether you're corrupt. It doesn't challenge your decisions. It doesn't tell you everybody hates the new ballroom. It doesn't care what the polls say. It just thinks you're wonderful. And psychologically, That's almost exactly what Natalie provides Donald Trump. She's completely loyal. She doesn't challenge him. She constantly supplies him with positive information. She validates what he already believes, and she absolutely adores him. For somebody with Trump's psychiatric disorder, this kind of relationship is incredibly rewarding. She literally feeds the beast. He requires enormous amounts of admiration and validation, as we all already know. That's called narcissistic supply, and Natalie gives him an almost unlimited supply of it. But Trump gives Natalie something in return. The more devoted she becomes, the closer he allows her to get. Her devotion gives her access. The access makes her important. Being important to Trump gives her purpose. It anchors her identity. And that gives her even more reason to remain devoted to him. It's a self-reinforcing cycle. And nothing demonstrates better how important Natalie Harp has become to Trump than what happened recently when Trump's own safety was threatened. During Trump's trip to Turkey, there was a credible threat against Air Force One. The Secret Service secretly moved Trump to another aircraft, and only a small group of people went with him. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent stayed behind on Air Force One. But Natalie Harp went with Trump. Think about that. When Trump had to decide who might live or die, he picked Natalie Harp to go with him. It's like if your house is burning down and you have to get out immediately. You make damn sure you take your dog with you. Natalie doesn't just need to be close to Trump. Trump apparently needs Natalie close to him as well. And he understands the dynamics of this relationship. She'll never leave me, he said, and I think he's right. Trump has become intertwined with her identity and purpose. Her extraordinary devotion gets rewarded with extraordinary access, and leaving Trump would mean giving up much more than a job. But there's one big problem with the dog analogy. Natalie Harp isn't a dog. A dog can't decide what information you see. A dog can't reinforce your false beliefs. A dog can't communicate with lawmakers on your behalf. A dog can't help you run your social media account. Natalie Harp can. And that's where this relationship stops being funny and starts becoming dangerous. Natalie has become one of the most influential people around the president.
She's really made her role with President Trump indispensable. She is the one who deals with lawmakers and allies and government liaisons. She is texting them messages from President Trump, articles that President Trump wants these lawmakers to see, and vice versa. They are reaching out to her if they want to get in touch with President Trump, if they want him to see something.
Understand that her primary role is to feed Trump's ego, to feed the beast. She provides a constant stream of positive reinforcement and validation. I've talked about this before. It's called narcissistic supply. But think about what happens when the person providing that narcissistic supply also becomes one of the people controlling the information reaching the president. Trump trusts Natalie because she feeds his ego. And that gives her extraordinary influence over the information environment surrounding the President of the United States. She feeds and or creates his delusions. The thing that makes Natalie so valuable to Donald Trump is exactly what makes their relationship so dangerous. Thank you so much for watching today. Be sure to subscribe and share this video on your socials. A very special thank you to our valued members. Come say hi to me. You can find me on Blue Sky. Take care and go love your pets.